Hello there. I just wanted to preface this video by saying guppy fish, their natural habitat is small creeks and riverbeds in Central and South America. It is not uncommon to find guppy fish in brackish environments and runoff streams where salt and fresh water mix. They have a high tolerance to salinity swings, along with several other species of live bearers in their family. Many people have successfully made the transition of guppy fish and mollyfish from fresh to salt, and I've personally done it many times with great success, even having them breed. Saltwater guppies and mollies are readily available for sale online. With that said, I have experience with this and would not do anything to jeopardize the health or safety of any fish. I hope you enjoyed this video and I look forward to sharing this transition with you. Hey, what's up everyone? So I got a 30-gallon tank from a customer. He no longer wanted it. It's a tank in a stand. He had it set up as a freshwater tank and he just wants to go to saltwater only. So I couldn't pass up the opportunity for a free tank, so I grabbed it. So what I'm going to do with this system is I want to make it a guppy tank, a guppy / molly tank, but not just guppy, molly, regular freshwater tank. That's how it's going to begin. I want to eventually make this thing full-fledged salt. So I want to have saltwater guppies and saltwater mollies in this tank. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this really good. I'm gonna aquascape it as if it's a saltwater tank because that's what it's gonna be. We're gonna have coral in here and everything. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean it. I'm gonna touch up some of the back paint right there, and then we're gonna scape this like we would scape a saltwater tank. We're gonna throw sand in here, and we're gonna get this thing going. So I'm at Aquarium shop right now, and we're gonna go in. We're gonna get some epoxy. We're gonna get some glue, and we're gonna get some sand and whatever else we need for this build. So here's the full tank. You can see the stand here, painted black, just a homemade stand, nothing crazy. Really super simple setup. We're not gonna do a sump or anything like that. We're just gonna do a simple hang on the back filter. I got the LED on here for now just so I can show you guys what the tank looks like. It's in relatively good condition. I'm excited to set this up, so let's go ahead and start scaping. I have some rocks outside, let's go ahead and go through them and let's scape this tank and make it look nice. So here's some rock that I have left over from jobs. I kind of spread it out throughout here, a couple buckets. I have some more pieces over here. So I'm gonna go through all this. A lot of this is just flat pieces. I'd like some more arches. We're gonna go through all this, maybe break some up, and we're gonna see what we can use to make an aquascape for the tank. There's a couple of decent pieces in here. Yeah, we'll see what we can do. So I finished scaping the tank and I think it looks okay. I want to leave some room for corals because eventually this will have corals in it. That's the end game for some coral growth. And so down here on the bottom right here, we're going to be able to have some different types of corals, some mushrooms and, scullies hopefully, and some other things. And then up top we'll have some hammers, waving. That's the end game. The one thing when scaping a tank though that you want to keep in mind is as you can see, there's no sand in here. You want to start with your rock scape first. You want that scape on solid ground because if you put the sand down and then you scape on top of the sand, it can be unbalanced and that can cause, like an avalanche of rocks or whatever. So you want to have that steady base right there. The other thing that I would suggest when doing a saltwater tank is to epoxy the rocks. It gives you a lot of security. So if you look over here, I have epoxy right here holding this rock on. I have epoxy right here holding on the pieces. This isn't one piece, these are separate pieces. If you want to build high, it's very important to use epoxy to hold your rocks together. So I have epoxy right here. I have epoxy over here. I have epoxy over on this side. I have epoxy in a bunch of different areas throughout this scape. That's to prevent that avalanche from happening. Also, it allows you to build really, really high, really, really tall. That's another way to get a saltwater look in a freshwater tank is you want really, really, really big, branching arches. And the only way really to achieve that safely without it tumbling over and falling and cracking your glass is by using epoxy. So I like the scape. I think, this isn't how it's going to look. This isn't the end game. I like the fact that it's still open, so we're going to get a power head. So nothing's touching the glass back here, so we have plenty of water flow back here. We also have, from the side here, you can see plenty of room for corals that will go on the bottom. Over here, you can see that the back is clear through there, so there's plenty of flow that will get in the back. Nothing's going to get stagnant. There'll be no dead spots in this tank. That's the goal. And we'll increase the flow as time goes on. Right now, we're going to start very, very slow. Because guppies obviously can't take too much flow. And then from this side, same thing, no dead spots. It's plenty open. That's the other thing about saltwater tanks, is the difference between them and freshwater tanks a lot of times is saltwater tanks really need to be open. They need to be able to breathe. So I like the scape because it's breathing. It looks good. But long term, we're gonna have corals filling out a lot of these spots. And I designed it in a way where, for example, I can see right here where this little bendy part is, I can see a bunch of acans or zoanthids growing on there. Back over here in this area, I can see a really nice torch coral or something like that. There's plenty of room for branching corals. Right over here would be another cool little island for some type of coral over here. I also could see zoanthids growing all down on this little ledge right there. So I scaped it in a way where I had some corals in mind as I was going through it. Another thing that I would say when scaping a tank is, scape it, you want it to look nice, but don't scape it and be like, oh man, it's missing something. Let me add this, let me add this, let me add that. If you're going to have corals in the tank, then scape it in a way that the corals can fill out some of the rest of that area. So yeah, we have a big spot right here that's kind of missing, but eventually we're going to have maybe a big hammer coral or something that will fill in that area and give a little bit more life to that tank. Plus it's nice sometimes to have open areas also. But like I said, scape it in a way, be like, hey, this would be cool, have some zoanthids right here. Hey, this is a good spot for like an encrusting coral. Hey, this would be a good part for like a hammer coral or something to branch off of. Scape it in a way that, you're keeping in mind that the corals that you're going to keep. So now, because this is going to be a freshwater tank to start, but long term it's going to be a saltwater tank, I don't want to use just regular tap and dechlorinator. We eventually want to have corals in this tank. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my RODI system right here. So I'm getting pure 0 TDS. I'm sure there's no chlorines or any other type of chemicals or stuff that will eventually leach into the tank. So I'm going to start using RODI water as opposed to tap water in this tank, even though we're just putting guppies in it. Long term, eventually we're going to switch over, and hopefully in a good, maybe 2 months or so, we'll be able to put our first corals in here. Hopefully sooner than that. But in order to do that, we have to make sure that we have, good quality water. We don't want to use tap because that could cause problems later on. The rocks are going to absorb some of the chemicals that come in through that tap water, and eventually it could leach out, and we could have algae and other issues, and the corals can be, pissed off. We don't want that. So I'm going to start by using RODI water, and we're going to put that in the tank, and then we're going to get it cycled. So this is a fluval hang on the back filter that I had from another tank. I like these for salt water just because they're really easy to clean. The top comes off, which is nice. This detaches, this whole piece comes out, so you can clean it. This whole thing comes out. And then right here you got chamber, which is really good for salt water. As you can see, you can put carbon, you can put filter floss, you can put GFO, whatever you want, and you can change out those sponges. So like I said, this is from another tank. I'm gonna go ahead and put it on this tank because I shut down that other tank, and this will be the main source of filtration for this build. and we'll go ahead and we'll change out the sponges and the carbon and all that stuff, put everything fresh. But I think this is going to work out really well. I really like these Fluval hang on the back filters. So here's where we're at right now. You can see it's still really foggy. It's because I was in there messing around off camera, stirred up a bunch of stuff. This will all settle, and with the hang, as far as the hang on the back filter goes, I'm gonna leave all this nastiness in there for now. I think that's gonna help cycle the tank. So I'm gonna leave that in there. Eventually we'll change it out, but for now, let's just go ahead and get it dirty. Let's get some of that funk into the tank so we can begin the cycling process. I also put a power head in there, which you cannot tell. This thing needs a little bit of help. I gotta prime it. But so this is where we're at right now, and then what I'll do is I'll let this sit, and then in the morning we'll go ahead and look and see where we're at. So here's the aquascape now that the tank's cleared up a bit. Kind of excited to see what we can do with this. It is a little clunky in the middle there, but there's a reason for that. I don't want to give it away, but I have plans for something I want to put in here that I think is going to be really fun. But this is what it looks like right now. Tank all cleared up. And like I said, there's no rock touching the back, so we'll be able to get plenty of flow back there. This is what it looks like with the blues on. So, pretty good.